When the sun is beating down and humidity is at an all-time high, it can be hard to find that go-to outfit that will keep you looking chic and feeling cool. Luckily, this latest free pattern, the shirt dress, is perfect for you. It's a gorgeous, simple design that pairs well with a variety of staple summer fabrics, including linen, chambray, or poplin. Plus, it's an ideal pattern for beginners to sharpen their sewing skills and produce something that you'll wear over and over. Now let's find out how to make this shirt dress so you can get out there and live your best summer life. Download the free PDF pattern in the description below. Step to follow. Cut out all pattern pieces from your fashion fabric. Once you have all your pattern pieces cut, we will focus on the preparation. We will cut fusible for the undercollar 1 collar stand, 2 placket and 2 belt pieces. When cutting the fusible, cut using the original pattern. Once cut, cut again around the seam allowance, trimming between 3/8 to 1/2 inch. By doing this, you will allow the fabric to retain its original stretch, particularly useful when sewing curves. This will avoid any extra weight or bulk around the seam allowance, as well as helping the feed dog on your sewing machine to feed a piece that is fused and not fused. In this case, a collar is a good example, as you will see below. While the iron is still hot from fusing your pattern pieces, take advantage and press the hem of the sleeve, following your notches. Now, the sewing can begin. Join the undercollars together and press. Since our undercollar was cut on the bias, we will place the top collar on top and allow your machine's feeder to feed the undercollar. This will allow both collars to be sewn evenly. Before turning over the collar, we will sew a top stitch of 1/8 on the undercollar side. While sewing, make sure the top and bottom seam allowances are facing the undercollar side. This will ensure your seam allowance faces slightly towards the back when you are pressing. I begin that stitch 2 inches away from the corners, as seen below. Turn over the collar and make sure to clip your corners for a sharper point. Optional, sew an edge stitch around the whole collar for stitching detail. Sew a basting stitch at the bottom where we will be joining collar stand and collar. Sew collar stand and collar together. Place the collar stand without fusible on the bottom for easier sewing. Then, place the collar and the fused collar stand on top. Sew 3/8 of an inch, only sewing the area where they will be joining. On the collar stand that will be seen inside of your garment, iron a 3/8 inch hem. This step will help when closing the collar stand on the inside of the garment. Optional. If you have trouble with ironing, sew a basting stitch as a guide. Sew front darts, iron darts towards the hem. Sew placket to the front at 3/8 of an inch. Iron seams towards the center of the placket. On the other side of the placket, iron 3/8 of an inch towards the center of the placket. This step will help close your center front. Iron center front. Sew an edge stitch at the seam where front and placket meet. Sew an edge stitch or overlock the hemline of the sleeve, leaving 1.5 to 2 inches unsewn on both ends. This will help when closing the sleeve. Sew center back together, ironing all seam allowances towards one side. Sew front and back shoulder seams. Optional. Sew an edge stitch on the seam allowances for stitch details. Sew collar stand to the neckline. If possible, iron seams into the collar stand. Using a sleeve board will make this step easier. Pin the other side of the collar stand so that we may close the collar stand. Make sure your edges are slightly covering the stitches. On the right side of the garment, sew an edge stitch all around. Since we pinned the collar stands on the wrong side of the garment, all stitches will match. Sew pockets onto the garment and overlock the side seams. Sew sleeve sides, closing the opening left previously. Sew sleeve to the garment. Sew a 3/8 inch rolled hem at the bottom of the garment. You may do anywhere between a 3/8 to 1.5 inch rolled hem, depending on your measurements. You can also serge the edge and hem a 3/8 to 3/4 inch hem, but a rolled hem at 3/8 provides ease when sewing. Most importantly, make sure the dress is at the desired length before stitching. At the center of the collar, stand mark and sew buttonhole horizontally. Mark from the edge of the collar, stand down 1 3/4 inches to begin your first buttonhole on the placket. After your first mark, mark each one 3 inches away. For this garment, 11 buttonholes were placed on the placket and 1 on the collar. Sew seam allowances for the sash or fabric belt at 3/8 inches. Remember to leave a 2-inch opening to flip inside out. Optional edge stitch for detail. Download the shirt dress free sewing pattern in the description down below. And since you've made it this far and you're not already subscribed to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss when I post my next video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Follow your joy. Let me know in the comments, what fabric are you using for your shirt dress?